Hi there, I'm Robyn and I have a business called Colour Streams where we overdye or variegate silk ribbons, threads and a range of fabrics. Today I'd like to talk to you about this beautiful crinkle silk chiffon. This is a very fine silk with permanent crinkles. It is available in a great array of colours, as you can see down here. And I use it in many different forms. So I will show you the technique and then I'll show you the examples. So let's get started. So I will prepare this piece of crinkle silk chiffon now. I've already made some, but I'll show you how you do it. So first of all, we're going to make a little nick right there. And then just tear it, and you tear it across the crinkles. It's very important that you remember across the crinkles. We'll just put that aside, and as you can see, it is already, the edge is already fluting beautifully. Just like that, I have already used it in this area here on the bag. I've not edged it or zigzagged it, as I'm going to show you, and I've needle felted that, and just to make it steady and well adhere, because it's on a bag that gets knocked about, I've come in and done a bit of beading along the edge. I'll put this aside because I have a piece all ready for it to go. Now also, in amongst this colour play, I decide what threads I want to use. So I'm going to use this sparkling thread on one side and this regular sewing thread on the top. Because zigzag is quite difficult for the machine, or not difficult, it's sweeping backwards and forwards of the needle is a bit harsh on the threads. I'm going to put this thread in the bobbin. If I want to use metal threads on top, I use a metafilm needle or top stitch, and these have a bigger eye and stop the build-up of static electricity, which can snap that top thread. Quite frankly, I use those needles all the time because they have a bigger eye, easy to use. So this is already in the bobbin and we're ready to go. I set my zigzag machine on 3 widths. Don't make it narrower, it will draw in all on its own. The stitch length I make just under 1. Don't put it on satin stitch or it'll drive it all down the hole in your machine. I have a nice fine needle. This one is a size 80 or 12. You need to match your needles with the fineness of your fabrics. And you usually only should use your needles for about 8 hours sewing. Sometimes we use the same needle for years, I've heard that said, and it's no good. I think that's about it. We need scissors and spectaculars. So let's get started. Need to come in nice and close now. Now I also tend to release the top tension by just a fraction. I find that helps ease the thread in the zigzag motion. I have the zigzag, mine has a motor where I can judge how fast it's going, so I've set it on about 3/4 of the motor speed. But just remember, don't go too fast with this. So now I place my fabric underneath the foot, and it's just gone in just past where the needle will go down. And this is very important to remember now. So this torn edge here of the crinkle silk is being fed in and running along that inside edge of the foot. So that's important, and that's where I will keep my eyes. Now when you're doing machining of any kind, sometimes this arm, this take-up arm here, will stop halfway down, and as it takes off again when you first start, it'll go up and it'll unthread your needle. So if you hold your threads for the first few stitches, it will stop that. So we're going to get started now, and I'm holding these threads. So off we go now. There's the threads out the back. Now I can let that go. And I am just letting it draw out of my fingers here. I am not stretching it like this. It's unnecessary to do that. Just let it draw out of your fingers. You can see as it's coming out the back that it's already fluting. It's just so magical. I just love it. It's so pretty. Having the multicolours and adding a little bit of spark to it just makes it sing for you. Nearly finished. So nice and steady with your zigzagging. Pull it out. So we have our piece of crinkle done now. So come in nice and close and have a look. Now if I want to make a flower, I just need to run a gathering stitch along here. I can do that by hand or with machine. So I'd gather it up, and as I gather it up I just roll it around a little bit. Any length you can make it as full or as less full, and there you have an instant flower. And look at that beautiful colourway. I just think that with my things, my slogan is let the colour do the work, and you can see it does. So I'll show you some samples now. Now here it is in softer colours. You can see that these colours have been used throughout this project. One of the things I love to do with this, and I've used it here and here, I've torn a strip of the crinkle silk and I've zigzagged either edge of it. This is about 3/4 of an inch or 1.5 centimetres wide, and then as I stitch it onto my crazy patchwork or my collage work, I ruche it, I gather it a little bit as I stitch it on, like so. And this is how it is. So I've ruched it. Then I can nestle flowers in amongst it, and I just push it from side to side. So it just breaks all those harsh lines that can be seen when you're in crazy patchwork. And it camouflages those harsh lines. Here I've made little fans out of it. And over here I've gathered up and made these little flower buds. It's a really lovely versatile little fabric. Here in the stronger colours I've done the same. So I've made some flowers here and here, and here in the stronger green is the same principle of zigzagging both sides of it and ruching it and laying it down. Now when we come across to here, to these other bags up here, you can see that I have done exactly the same thing. I've edged this crinkle silk just as I showed you before, here on the white poppies and here on the red poppies. So really it just looks like this when I lay it down. And when I lay little wisps of wool tops between it, tiniest little wisps, and then I wet felt it in that traditional wet felting way, it will distort and attach in sections, but still allow these edges to sit up a bit. So these two bags have been wet felted, and the only things that were added to this after the felting process were the beads and the centres. So you can see that this is a very versatile product. We come down lower here, we have another method, still making florals, and I'll bring it across to here. Now this flower here, I have zigzagged beading wire. This nice fine gauge beading wire, I think it is a 28 gauge, so nice and fine. If you use it too thick, it doesn't go under your machine foot very well. So we'll put that aside. But the beauty of this is that you can mould this and it will retain its shape. So just as I laid down the crinkle under the foot, I lay the wire at the same time just over the top edge, and they all get zigzagged together. So if we come over here, this bag was such fun to make. This is designed by my dear friend Catherine, and she is a beautiful designer. So she's used fine gauge fishing line in here, and that just tends to hold it open. It springs it open. So in the same way you lay the fishing line over the edge of the crinkle as you zigzag it. If you use a harsher gauge, it will even open it more. Many times when you are doing the wearable arts, you can do reams and reams of this, and it will flute, and they wear it all over the place. You could make gorgeous scarves, trims on necks, and even if you don't want to zigzag it, as on these bags here, you can see that they're just torn edges and they were felted in. That also was wet felted. It's not stitched in. So it's a very versatile, fun thing to do. So thank you for watching. Bye bye.